Alan, for that. And I would like to say that the Law Society of Kenya has, that day, it was a sad day for us, because that Tuesday, what happened was we had gone for a memorial for Honorable Monica, who was killed in the hands of the police. And we were called and we were told, we even had not set up the toll-free line for people to call advocates, and we were called that there are some advocates who have been arrested and they're in Central Police Station. And we asked ourselves the pertinent question. That time I remember we were with Steve and Tess, and we asked ourselves the question, why are we going to release only lawyers while people who have been peacefully demonstrating have been arrested? And I think we had a discussion with the president, and she said, yes, let's go bail them out. And I remember when going there, we didn't expect what we saw on that day. So we went to the police station, and we actually asked to be given the list of the people who have been arrested and their charges. And I remember it was a back and forth, and now lawyers from certain groups were called, come, let's release these people. And actually, when they saw lawyers there, they saw us as a threat, because we are going to release the people who have been causing trouble, quote-unquote trouble to them. So when we went there, we tried talking, they tried calling the president and saying, just tell your people to go till 6 p.m. And we asked them, why till 6 p.m.? Has the law been suspended till 6 p.m. that we can only release people after 6 p.m.? And when we demanded to stay with the people who have been arrested in the police station, they threw tear gas at us. I remember even one of our council members, Otto, they threw a canister, the tear gas canister, at her. So the lawyers have been really harassed in this whole process. We saw even the other day in Nanyuki, where they had gone to actually take, because this guy, I think Lewis, they were looking for Lewis, and they were harassing him, going to his home, banging his door. And they decided, okay, let's take him to the police station. And when they went, they were all chased away. Lawyers were chased away, and they were told, no, we want to speak to Lewis alone. And they said no. And it became a commotion. And they started beating the lawyers and chasing them out of the police station. So what does it mean? It is very lawful, especially for what had been happening in the first times of the demonstration, where people were coming out peacefully. They are just with their water bottles, they are just singing, chanting, and they were not causing any kind of fracas. And I think the government had not seen such kind of a thing. They thought everything will be organized, will be uniform, but when they saw large numbers coming, and they were wondering, how can we contain these numbers? Because they thought it will just be like the normal ones, and by 2 p.m. they're at home, or 3 they're at home. So I think we need to defend the Constitution, and we are saying peaceful protesters, and that is the case we have seen all through. Peaceful protesters are being arrested, and that is what we are standing for, that you cannot just be arrested for exercising your right.
Right.
Yeah.
Irungu, to keep up on this space, the police not only threw tear gas, but they were shooting live ammunition, rubber bullets, beating up protesters. But most importantly, we also saw police without uniform, completely face covered up, somehow mingling with the protesters, and they would arrest, shoot, and perhaps some of those abductions happen in these moments. I want to ask you about what should the police be doing during protests, and what we just went through, just how illegal this whole is, and what can we do anything about it, or it's just a matter of, well, we reflect and then say, well, that's something bad has really happened, we need to move on.
So the illegalities in terms of policing that we saw over the last month or so did not start then. I think we have to go back to 2023, we have to go back to 2017, and we have to ask, why is it in a point where the state is being challenged on the basis of corruption, on the basis of inequality, on the basis of impunity? Why does the state respond so violently to peaceful protest? And as Amnesty International, we monitored with the Kenya Medical Association and Law Society, and of course many organizations here under the auspices of the Police Reforms Working Group. And we saw the pattern of policing essentially was to destroy the possibility of a peaceful protest. How that starts is commanding officers failing to accept letters of notification. The second thing that happens is you arrest anybody you suspect to be an organizer. Now, what is a protest organizer? A protest organizer is also a marshal. It is the person who makes sure that when we write a letter to the OCS and we say, we are going to move from this point to this point, we are going to approach this government office, and we are going to hand over a petition here. That is the person that controls the crowds. So once you take those two quick actions, you immediately send a protest into confusion. And we have said this so many times to commanding officers, to the more senior police officers, that as soon as you disrupt that process, you have thrown a peaceful protest into something that is not provided for within Article 37. The second stage is to have police officers coming like criminals, either in balaclavas or without identification, or with vehicles that have 4 or 5 license plates, and they embed themselves. They pretend to be protesters in order to arrest protesters, or they pretend to be journalists in order to arrest journalists, or they tear gas medical officers. This is what we saw this time, where we set up pop-up emergency clinics, essentially for medics, volunteers, not even paid by government, to basically provide treatment, not just to protesters, but to bystanders and also police officers, let's not forget. And what happens is you tear gas them, you arrest people like Brandon, you then seize their medical records so that they can't even follow up with patients. And then the question is, for me, is actually who is behaving as if this is a riot? Who is providing the riotous activity? Who are the criminals that need to be prosecuted? So to end this point, I think there are many things that we need to do. We need to crowdsource, identify those officers. We need to bring cases against those particular officers individually, plus their commanding officers, to ensure that they are held accountable, not just for the deaths, not just for the injuries that Hussein has spoken about, but even for the violation of the right to protest and the right to expression. The previous panel spoke about the horror of having people coming to collect them in the middle of the night. That also needs to be prosecuted, because the freedom of expression is what makes us human beings. It is not just that the Constitution protects it, but you are not a human being if you cannot think independently, if you cannot articulate yourself, and if you cannot take action in order to protect a Constitution that we all voted for.
Okay, right. So I want to go back to the point about, and we sort of systematically talk about not just the people, but the role of the flag, as you had brought it up. And my question is this: who owns the Kenyan flag?
Hiyo ni swali rahisi sana. Kenyan flag belongs to the people of Kenya. It's not a government item. It's not. It's ours. When you talk of black, it's us. It's the color of our skin. When you talk of red, it's the blood shed, and we continue to shed to this moment, to this very day. And green is our land, you know. So I mean, I find it absurd for anyone to even imagine or to tell us that you can't do this. This is a preserve of a few individuals, only the leaders. These are today's Mau-Maus. When you are Mekufa, we are seated here today having this conversation here to Fungamano in their honor, because they died so that we can be here today. And one thing I want to communicate is that even with the families that we have been going to, you know, you can see that, you know, that resolve and that pride that they have. When you go there with the flag and you're draping the flag over the coffin, and they say, wow, our son did not die for nothing. He didn't just die like that. He died truly fighting for this country. And when you go to the family, when you're handing over the flag, you can actually feel, you know, everyone there holding the mother, the father, the family in pride. So, wasitutishe hiyo tunawaambia, you know, anyone we need to hang. In other countries, people hang these flowers in their backyards. They are there on their doors. And here we are being told that if you display the flag or if you put it sijui, it's an offense. My foot, I mean, we can't have that. Wasitutishie, this is our country, and that is why that is why we need to reclaim. For me, I'm a grassroots person. I'm not much of a talker. But you know, everyone, this is the time. Hakuna kitu yenye hatuwezi fanya. Hata kama kila mtu anataka ice cream, sasa tunaenda tunaambia serikali hiyo tax, nunulia kila mtu ice cream. I mean, you can't tell us anything. So not just the flag, everything, even the emblem. Ukitaka kuvaa kofia uweke nini, it is yours. So hiyo mambo ya kutishana, that fear is gone. When we lose our fear, thank you very much.
Gloria, same question. What is this problem with flag, and why do we have this sense of belief, and especially the security forces and the guys who run government, that they own this item, exclusively theirs?
Sorry?
They think they own this item. It's a government product.
One, we need to remember it's a symbol of this country. And if it was illegal, I think I'll be the first one in this place, Kushikwa.
Some illegalities
I have used it, yes, I have used it as a lesson, but not necessarily, but showing my patriotism to this country. We walk around with the bracelets, the Kenyan bracelets, but it has never been a problem. Everyone in the UK, you can identify a Kenyan from one when you just see that bracelet. But right now, when we are using it at this time, it becomes a problem. Then I think we are not the problem. They are the problem, and I think they should deal with it. And this is just speaking because we have had, we see people putting the flags on their cars. Right now, they're even ashamed of putting those flags in their cars because we will flag them na tutaanguka now. So I think it is not a problem right now. And carrying your flag is patriotism. They did it very proudly, and now we are the ones saying we the people are taking it proudly, and we are carrying our flags, and let them know that we have the power in our hands. And I think one of them, the symbol is...
And I will come to the audience to get some reactions to it, and also we are doing this on Space and live on NTV. Piece of item, the flag.
Let me step back and then come back to the flag. So in a crisis, all nations have three choices. The first is to twist towards constitutionalism. The second is to twist towards authoritarianism. And then the third choice is anarchy. Now, what this movement has done has twisted towards constitutionalism. In constitutionalism, there are negotiable. One of the non-negotiables is the Constitution. That all our actions, all our thoughts are captured in It is clear to me when I saw those crowds marching with constitutions and police officers without a single constitution among them, but with batons, I began to see the righteousness of what was happening on our streets. Consider that in a context where the state wants to disenfranchise you, the first thing it will do is it will tell you there are certain symbols of patriotism, of nationhood that do not belong to you. The flag does not belong to you. It is okay if you don't take a voter's card, or you lose your ID and don't bother to get another one, or you don't volunteer in a school clinic, in a school nearby you, or you do not volunteer in a clinic to oversee a public resource that keeps our people safe and dignified, or you don't volunteer at all. That is what a state tries to do, to remove that section in the Constitution that has expressed itself so loud in the last 3 weeks, and that is Article 1. If you do not seize this moment, not just as a, I think it was the president who spoke about this. If we do not seek this moment, if we do not grab this moment as a moment for the third liberation, then we are going to squander this moment more generally. So I would say to those cabinet secretaries that are waiting, that are lobbying, and perhaps if they follow the same route that they took in 2027 and 22, that are beginning to put money together to buy a cabinet secretary seat. If they not come with new ways of working, then consider they have come to reap where they did not sow. And they are coming essentially not to build on this constitutional movement, but to take us back to a place that we did not want to do. So wear your flag. If necessary, have a flag, have an outfit made from the flag, and let's walk around with underwear, trousers, t-shirts, and jackets.
Okay, great. Let's get a reaction from space. I think Masika is online. Masika, could you tell us what your reflections of this protest were? And then I will come to the audience here to get their reflections as well.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate. I hope I'm audible enough.
You're great.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that we are having the Citizen Assembly, and one of the key things that we note clearly is that things have changed, times have changed. We are no longer in the olden days. I was listening that bit on the police and the police upholding the law. And maybe one of the things that the LSK can be helping us to know, because I think the police are enforcing the law, but they don't know the law. Because when you ask a police officer why they are arresting you, some of them clearly do not know even the procedure of arresting a suspect or something like that. Do they have it in the in the training camps to do martial arts, to do work on how to use batons to beat up people? But when you ask a police officer to uphold the law when they are arresting you, do applying that law? So for me, that has been a question at the time of recruitment, because you look at even the people that the recruiters are looking for, then you clearly know that is where the rain starts beating us. Me personally, I did very well in O level, and I wanted to join the police, but I was removed from the line because I was told that I needed to go to university and study. But I needed to become a police officer, whether I started as a serviceman and be promoted, but they refused because of my grade in Form 4. So one of the things that we need to push even as right now, because our voices are being heard, and this is it's going to be, can we have anybody, even if I got an A in Form 4 and I want to become a police officer, I'd be allowed to become a police officer at whatever level I'm beginning, because we have graduates who got A's and they do not have, and they're doing whatever work. So if I got an A and I want to become a police officer, they should allow me to join the forces, because one of the things that we are battling with is some of the guys that I'm not saying that if you scored less in Form 4 you don't have brains, but clearly most of the people that we meet in the police and they are arresting you, you can clearly tell that they do not even have the ability to engage with you and tell you why they are arresting you. They just come using muscles and power. So one, I think the police do not have the knowledge of the same law they follow only commands that they are given. So when you say you're doing a peaceful demonstration according to Article 37 and you're not destroying any property, is that police officer who is arresting you aware that there's such Article 37 in the Constitution? Because that is where the rain begins beating us. Can we have the law, part of the law trained to the police officers who enforce the law? And then arrest, I want to think, arrest should be done at the open, and somebody should be notified, because we are having abductions and the police are picking people from the street and their homes. Can we have, if you arrest me, please allow me to notify my family members that you've arrested me and where are you taking me? So as I finish on that police thing, I think the failure of the police starts at the place where you're recruiting them, and it also continues because of the curriculum they use to train police officers. And then when I come on the flag thing, the flag is a national symbol. The same way we sing national, and I have
Amandla. Thank you so much. Comrade, I just have an observation in form of a question. That, of course, we are doing well with the national government. But there's a group of people who are really devolved and in touch with our people, or the proletariats in the villages, back in the counties. I was saying that, comrades, let's not forget the counties. That is the people who are also interacting with our people back there in the villages. So after this struggle comes from the national, we go back to the county government so that we fight this nepotism and fight for transparency and accountability. I want specifically to appreciate Aki Africa. I was there, smart, I'm traumatized up to date. This guy is so quiet, I don't know what he's using, I'm shocked. They took me to a mortuary, I ran away with this gentleman during Rex and Evans postmortem. I don't know you are made of what. All those parents were crying on their chests. I was shocked to see them still walking. I was shocked on the hardest day of the strike. You know, on Thursday, few people came. Among the few who came, and Shakira and the rest, now to notify us and to get us very, very easy on Thursday. I remember those guys were going to an extent of tear gassing where people were being treated. You are just wondering, what kind of human being is this? This is a place where people are now being treated, please. And they're even going ahead to tear gas a petrol station. We are at the corner of the total there. It was quite unfortunate. Please, comrades, the question I wanted to ask with care and with utmost humility, how can we organize this struggle in a way that we don't lose the gains made and we don't lose the focus? Because if we end up in the morning, someone is saying we fight for this, fight for that, fight for this, fight for positions, then we are going to lose this focus, and these guys are going to run away with all the gains that we have done, what? We have made. So I was just pleading with those in the panel, if you can guide the conversation to a clear focus. Because now there are also political rivals who are taking advantage of this thing. Like someone is planning to vie for 2027. What is the next thing? 20 to Salami and Ani. You are getting? Not for the struggle, but for the narrow, self-seeking interests. That was my plea. Otherwise, Aki Africa, may God bless you. And I'm pleading, colleagues who are seated there, how can you debrief? I'm a teacher by profession. Some people who came for the struggle didn't even know the road. I was shocked, someone asking me, amefika Ngara anauliza wapi barabara ya kwenda Kabete. You can tell you. When we are taking that roundabout to Nyayo, wale waliangusha fence, those who are falling down, wale waliona, they are still, I still feel the smell of blood mpaka saizi. So how can we debrief these people by cancelling them? Because some people may also turn violent after this one. Because some wengine wako wamezoea that kind of. I remember one girl alitoka tu nyuma tu akaanza kupiga kelele na nduru, watu wakimfuata. Watu wakimfuata tu nyuma tu. Ni kama ako possessed. So how can you also organize that? We have centers, we communicate where these people can come and we get guidance and counseling. May God bless the struggle.
Thank you. Can you take your brief as well and keep it a minute or less?
Comrades power. Comrades power. Now, I want us to trace the bullet that was in David Chege's head. Back to the trigger, to the magazine, to the command, Adamson Bugay, to Japheth Kome, and we make it very clear where the accountability stops. My point is this: the person who is ultimately responsible for all the death, the destruction, is the president. Okay? Let's not make excuses. Let's not say the police, the police, the police. They are individually culpable. But ultimately, it's the president who takes responsibility. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. As I finish, I think the problem we have, and I'll put this to the panel, I think we have a country that is lacking ideology. And please, civil society, help us define the ideology for this revolution. Because we have inherited a system, colonial government and governments after, where governance is about brutality, repression, plunder, and pillage. So can we have an ideology moving forward so that when we fight, when we occupy spaces, we're occupying spaces knowing the Kenya that we are fighting for is defined by this certain set of values. Otherwise, without values, we'll get back, certain politicians will come back, and we'll have the same battle over and over again. Thank you. Ruto must go.
All right. Can I get ladies in the room, please? So bring the microphone to the front. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good afternoon, I think. My name is Mirna. I'm a forensics specialist. I've had the privilege of working for government, working outside of government, and now I work as a consultant, and I'm sure Hussein is laughing because he knows there's a place we met. I have a question, slightly, the two issues. He brought up a forensic issue, but my question, I think it's just an issue of reflection. Since the start of the protests, I've been wondering, and when I go into every office, I see the picture of the president. I don't mean any disrespect, but is that also a symbol of, that is compulsory? You understand, like, I wonder why I don't see the picture, a framed, beautiful picture of the Constitution of Kenya, of the preamble signed by the Kibaki. I mean, that is what we give the president to uphold. That is his custodianship in terms of mandate when you are a president. So I think we have to do away with the frills, with that kind of, self-aggrandizement, idolatry somewhat, because it's also, it's behavior modification. You keep seeing this image, and instead of seeing the Constitution, instead of seeing the rules by which we want to govern ourselves as a society, we see a person. And so none of us can get away with seeing this person, either at national government level, offices, public offices, private sector offices, county governments. I think it's time for us to put the symbols of power by the people where they should be, and the symbols that need to be transitioned out, as my dear comrade has said, is then moved towards what's the ideology of this revolution. I would say we need accountable governance. We don't just need governance, we have governance. We try to use elections to eliminate people. I would say this, eliminate them out of the competition. Elections have been used to vote people out, but we don't vote in the person we want, because we don't see the person we want. We are just left with two choices, and we choose the lesser, I don't want to say it. Someone said the other day that mababas wa Eve, So, we can't do that anymore. And when I think about all these things, I'm just like, this country is a beautiful country. We have, with everything that has happened, we are here. We are a regional power. We are respected. And we need to move forward from that. But we are now stuck because there is no accountable governance mechanisms in every agency of government, parastatals, sagas, and our priorities are just simply upside down, and our foreign policy is dictated not by us, but by others. And I'm like, we cannot continue like that. We don't want to be the princes that are being ruled by fools. I worked in government for many years. Merit is secondary or tertiary to networks and connections. You cannot change the system from the inside. I tried. I was in government for more than 11 years. You cannot climb. In all those years, I never saw a budget. We were never told, write a budget. You don't prepare for results, what is a planning for results process, or what they would call the equivalent performance contracting. And so it's hard to even appraise people. When people come and say, okay, what have you done? Where is your appraisal? There's no appraisal, right? So I think the ideology should be accountable governance, and the And if we want justice and we want independent investigations, when I say forensic, say evidence management. Forensic. Evidence management. Who is in charge of evidence management in this country? You cannot have the potential perpetrator be the same person as the investigator. And right now, the National Forensic Lab is in the hand of the National Police Service.
All right.
So you cannot investigate crime and conduct the scientific analysis of that evidence.
Okay.
So half the evidence is sitting with families, and we are here, you know, outside the system, and half the evidence is inside the system.
Thank you very much. I have decisions to make. I have many people on space, and I have many people here. And I have audience here. Do I have a lady? I'll come back. Don't worry. We're here. I'll come back. Let me go to space, get one comment, because they're also participating and they want to be here. Daniel, if you can make your comments in a minute or less. Do we have Daniel? Okay, so we'll come back. But let me just get quick reactions to this so to move the conversation forward. Start with you, Irungu. I'm told Daniel is here. Daniel, can you hear us? Please make your comment. Yes.
Thank you so much. So I want to go one step back and look at the Constitution. So when we inaugurated the Constitution, what we did was that we changed who has power. You know, we clarified that, we the people, right? And what's happening now and what you're seeing in this movement, we are seeing, we want to now define and clarify what power does, because now it's clear who has the power, we the people. And going forward, this movement continues to clarify, you know, what power does. Now, what we need to do going forward, I think, this is my opinion, is that we need to make being in public or being in public office so undesirable for somebody who doesn't like to be made accountable. So undesirable such that the only people who get attracted to those offices are people who are open and are willing to account. And that's the biggest problem that we have with corruption. And that's the biggest problem that we have with the police and so on and so forth. Now, one question before I go, and this is a question to the panel. I'd like to understand, we are the children of Kibaki. We came, this generation millennials and Generation Z. We came with a free education, and I said this in my TED talk a few years back that we have had a 360-degree Kenyan experience. Unlike our parents, we have the full consciousness of feeling Kenyan. Many of us don't even speak our mother tongue, or our primary languages are national languages. We have lived everywhere in the country, and we have a full 360-degree Kenyan experience. With also digital media, it has culminated with this consciousness, with political consciousness. Now the question is, how can we, going forward, manage this movement? We know that part of the reason why we are seeing many changes is also because we have a debt issue. And the cancelling of the financial bill, and also we've seen that Moody's has also downgraded our credit rating, and we will have a problem with money. And usually when there's austerity and a problem with money, the regime might use that as an excuse to bring some sort of social injustice by denying services to the people who are most needy with the excuse that we don't have money, right? And some reforms can be difficult to push through because the president will say we don't have money. So how are we going to continue making the government accountable, but also waking up the debt issue and managing our country through this very difficult situation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to start with you, but let me start with Hussein because it's just about to drop off. Hussein, could you just give a quick reaction of what you had?
Thanks, Matt. And I apologize because I have to dash out to go to the mosque. But I want to agree with Musila John. I think all of us have to be and to make a resolve to become human rights defenders. I think for many years, we've been out there for many years. You're actually protesting, you're protesting on an issue that affects every citizen. And you actually see people in the pavement just watching what you're doing. That has been the culture, that has been the tradition in Kenya for years. But right now, and we have to give credit where it's due, Gen Zs, it doesn't matter what your background is. Awendi uambiwe, mtetezi tutetee. They're saying they are the watetezi. Kila mtu, and we have to give credit to the Gen Zs because they've stood up and they've said we will take back our country. You know, some of us, we've been arrested, we've been beaten, we've been blacklisted, you know, but then people would just come back and tell you, great, you're doing good work. And continue. And like, isn't this your country? So for the Gen Zs, for that change, we give credit where it's due, and we tell you hongera, and let's keep on with that. The second point was on debriefing, my brother, very, very true, particularly for the families. We've really been trying to work with the Kenya, I think, Association of Counselors and Mama Kennedy, particularly, for example, the 12-year-old boy who was killed. He had actually asked to go and pick a book. He was supposed to do his homework. One of, I don't know, if you look at the artwork that he does, and the mother keeps looking, you know, and we have to remind ourselves of what has happened. The 16-year-old, the mother is so devastated. I mean, some of us, tunasema, you know, we are in this, but those families that have been affected, please, if you're near a family, if you're near someone who is injured or who has been affected, please reach out. This is the time for us to stand firmly together. You ask yourself, what can I do? There is so much you can do. Just going to visit someone and telling them, umeumia kwa niaba yetu, asante sana, that can make a whole world of difference. So let's be there for each other. Let's be our brothers and sisters keepers. And last but not least, I think we were in one of the funerals, Boniface Mwangi said, let's replace the pictures of the president with the flag. But I think this addition is extremely important, the Constitution. So the flag and the Constitution is what each and every person should have hanging somewhere in our house, not the president's photo. I mean, you know, and we have LSK here. Could you please confirm to us that it is not illegal to have a picture or, you know, the Constitution somewhere in your house or in your business? Is it illegal? It is not illegal. So we make a resolve here today, the Ufungamano resolve, that we remove the picture of the president and we put the picture of the flag and of the Constitution. Hanging somewhere in our house. Not the president's photo. I mean,